the monthly market update, October 2024. Again, Cheryl Stokes, my friend from New American Funding, and Mary Bartos. We're just going to jump into this, Cheryl, because we've got topics to discuss, as we said, only a couple weeks before an election.
Yep.
Which is always a main thing. Fed announced rate drops.
Yep.
Right? Lots of things that have happened. And then as we go in after the election into a new year. So we're going to talk about mortgage rates, what that is today and in the future, total home sales, home prices, and then always the local market. So Cheryl, what is Ralph McLaughlin from Realtor.com, senior economist, saying?
Our friend Ralph is saying that we expect the economy to land softly and a housing inventory to continue to recover. This should put downward pressure on mortgage rates this fall and winter and will set the stage for a much better season for home buyers in 2025.
Nice. Great. Hope, right?
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Which is true. And then what did Greg McBride from Bankrate say?
Well, he said Fed interest rate cuts in general will bring about lower mortgage rates, which is a definite boost to the housing market, but it won't happen overnight. And remember, they're not one and the same.
Right, which everyone thinks they are.
Fed rates are not mortgage rates. So just remember that. It's an indicator only.
Okay, because Fed can cut, rates can go up, right?
Yes.
They're whatever.
There are other factors in mortgage rates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are two slides that I love, and this is one of them. This is what is the different analysts, Fannie Mae, MBA, and Wells Fargo, are saying about the next 5 quarters.
Yes.
As mortgage rates go. And Cheryl, what is so cool about this is the average of all 3 of those for those different quarters is a downward trend.
Correct. And that's what we've been saying to expect all this time. It's taking a little longer than we like, but it is trending downward.
Yeah. I think this election, hey, whichever color you want to win, purple, green, red, blue, whatever, we're going to be back to certainty after the election.
Yes.
And that is always good for rates as we look back over time. Now, another great slide I really, really like, which is mortgage rates projections of the future. And it's not just seeing that downward trend, but again, these same 3 that are actually giving the predictions, look at what they're doing. I mean, they're all in that downward trend.
They're all in the downward trend. And as you and I know, we can't say exactly where they're going to be. This looks great, and we think they will go down. But we don't have a crystal ball. We can't see what will be happening, but we believe they're trending downward.
That's right. And you said that best because, I asked Cheryl, I ask her a lot of questions. I'm like, well, what do you think? And she's like, I don't have a crystal ball. That's usually the first answer. Exactly. But, Charlie Dougherty from Wells Fargo, director, senior economist, what did he say?
He said lowering financing costs will likely boost demand by pulling affordability crunched buyers off the sidelines. And this is something I absolutely agree with.
Right.
Every pundit discusses it. We discuss it internally. People are sitting on the fence. They're waiting for house pricing to be affordable and rates to be affordable. And as they decline, people are going to jump into the market.
It is a great thing because you and I were doing an exercise that if at the end of 4th quarter of 24, they go to 6.18.
Yep.
From where they were in April of this year.
Yep.
What did that do to a $500,000 house?
$500,000 house that found $500 a month in affordability.
And that's a lot.
That's a lot. That really makes a difference between someone qualifying and not qualifying.
Right. And you listening here in Southwest Florida, there's a lot of wealth, and that that's not any amount of money, but it is. When you look at that amount, 500,000 is, gosh, my first house wasn't 500,000.
Right. Right.
And that's what we're looking at a first-time home buyer.
Right. And if first-time home buyers are, they might have student loans, they might have other factors that affect their affordability. So that is a lot of buying power that's added in just by the rate dropping.
That's wonderful. All right. So I love this that Bankrate did a survey. And, this is also another great slide. These slides will be out there, so don't fret. That said, more than half of the homeowners would be motivated to buy if rates were under 6%.
Yep.
Now, this slide says 6, 5, 4, 3, and it doesn't all add up to 100 because they actually could click more than one choice, which is nice. But, if you're going to buy and we're around the corner from that.
We are around the corner from that. And the thing is because those people are going to jump off the fence.
Right.
And then everybody is going to want to get into the market. Now your competition is stiff. So you might have that affordability built in because of the rate, but home prices are going to go up. Competition's going to go up. And maybe some of your negotiating ability will go down.
Right. We're going to have to do a special reel or Really Mary on just how to do things in a contract. Cheryl is a pro, let me tell you. So in a time when there's maybe not multiple offers.
Right.
So stay tuned for that in the future. Now, if I'm a seller, it's interesting enough, and I was curious because I don't have the actual data on this from Bankrate, but if I was a seller, only 35% would pull the trigger if the interest rate was less than 6%.
I kind of think that's because so many sellers right now still have rates in the 3s.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to figure out what's going to send them into the selling market.
Sure.
Other than life. You're transferred, whatever reason.
The D's, diapers, diamonds, divorce.
Whatever.
Right.
All the D's.
All the D's. Can't come up with them right now because I'm so confused about that. But yeah. So yeah, you're right. The 3%, or I have a lot of equity. So maybe the interest rate isn't that much and I can just buy the next one cash.
Right.
Which is not a bad place to be. So if I look at that from a standpoint of mortgage rates, and now what does this look like for total home sales? And again, today, the beginning 3/4 of this is just what's happening in the national market. But we are at total home sales forecast in now at the end of 24 and kind of playing that out to what it would be is the lowest year that we've had since 19. But there was an article in the Wall Street Journal today on October 23rd, the day we're recording this, that talked about we are at the lowest number of homes sold in the last 30 years.
That's kind of shocking.
It's shocking. Now, they were talking about resale versus total, so there is a difference. And then if you look back in population, and there's a lot of, things in there, it could have been since the 80s the lowest number of home sales. So we know, Cheryl, that in an election year, 7 out of 8 elections, except for 2008, remember the Great Recession in 2008, that actually number of sales went down from the year going into the election and then went up the next year.
Correct.
Including prices.
Correct.
Now, prices didn't really fluctuate the year going into it, but the year going out of it, they did. It went up. So if that's any indication of what will happen between 24 and 25, that'll be great. What they're talking about right now is in 2025, we're going to go back up to 5.4 million homes sold in 2025.
So not quite 2019 and not 20 and 21, but we have to remember those 2 years are anomalies.
Right.
5.4 gets us a lot closer to what I call a normal year of 2019.
Right, 2019. And, 2022, we were 5.7.
Right.
So we're not that far off. So if these analysts are correct, and this is coming from, the source is Census, Fannie Mae, MBA, and NAR, and
NAHB. Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Now, if you look at the 3, Fannie Mae, MBA, and NAR, they're saying the average is 5.4, but NAR is more bullish. They're saying 5.7. I don't know. MBA and Fannie Mae are both at 5.2, so, they're talking about 5.4 million sales next year. So what's Business Insider saying?
Oh, I think it's saying what I just said a minute ago. Waiting until spring or summer should also give you more inventory to choose from, but you'll likely be up against greater competition since it's the peak buying season. So lower rates, more inventory, more competition.
Right, more competition. And, it's interesting. I was just sitting on a webinar today, and one of the things that I think is most interesting is investors will tell me, and it's true, I heard it again in the webinar, they make their money when they buy. So if you're thinking about buying between now and the end of the year, it's a great time. Whether you're buying here or somewhere else in the world, whether you buy with us or somebody else, it's a great time to buy because anybody that's been on the market quite some time is very motivated to come off the market.
Yep.
And if you just write an offer and see how the negotiations flow, you may get a really good price.
Yes.
Right?
And you'll have less ability to do that next spring.
Exactly, as we move through high season. So let's talk about the local prices from that perspective. So, the whole average of, what are there, 10 of these, Cheryl, that are averaging between Goldman Sachs and Wells Fargo and, Fannie Mae, et cetera, they're saying that the average price increase for next year is 2.6%.
Not bad.
Not bad. Not horrible. Better than a stick in the eye, right? It's better than a negative number.
True.
Which people have said to me, prices are going to go down. Well, all of these analysts say not.
And we have heard that, let's be honest. We heard that in 2020.
Right.
We heard it in 21 during COVID. We heard it in 2022. We heard it this year. And although there has been an evening, overall, prices have not tanked. They have not come down. And I don't think they're going to next year either.
I don't think so either. But it's an interesting thought for some of you that might think that in your mind because, everything's scary. And right now with uncertainty of the world, it really makes wanting to have certainty in some portion of your life. So Lance Lambert, co-founder of Resi Club, said,
even if the average national home price forecast for 2025 is correct, it's possible that some regional housing markets could see a mild home price decline, while some markets could still see elevated appreciation. That has been, after all, the case this year. And my and is, it's the case every year. Regionally, prices decline or might be higher than the average in appreciation. Yeah. That's just the market.
And it's also micro market. I can see it between communities here for whatever reason that some don't quite hit it and some do. It just really depends on those values. So Selma Hepp, what is she saying from CoreLogic?
So Selma says currently economic projections for 2025 are also positive, which points to a positive outlook for the housing market. And that's true. All the economic indicators are great right now.
Yeah. And that's all we can go on.
Right.
If I'm going to make a decision, I want to make it on great indicators. And again, I'm going to make it where I can get a really good deal because when I go to sell it, that's not where the money's made. It's made in how I buy.
Right.
So when you think about that and we think about our local market, now Cheryl and I have been doing a series of seller seminars. And if you've attended one, we thank you. I hope you found it as awesome as many have said it is. But we've been going through these numbers and this is an interesting slide because the median sales price has, just what you said, flattened when you look at Marco Island, Fort Myers, and Naples and Cape Coral. In most of those markets, or gone down a little bit, with the exception of median sales price at Marco Island. And Cheryl and I presented this last Thursday.
Yep.
And I was kind of floored. I'm like, what? Like I didn't see the data. The data all of a sudden showed up in the chart, and I was like,
What's happening?
What happened? So Cheryl and I went back and looked at it. And Cheryl, what was a crazy anomaly with this?
So the anomaly was we have homes and we have condos here on Marco Island. And it was condo heavy, which tend to be lower priced than homes.
Right, in general.
And it was typically the smaller condos, so it really skewed the average. So there's not a decrease in value here.
Right.
It's just the way the sales went last month.
The typical sales. Now, Marco Island is much smaller. There were only 30 sales that month. And, more than half were those condos that were smaller, under $500,000, which was the average. Kind of,
it's
great
summer.
Value. If you're looking for a $500,000 condo, apparently we have a few.
Yeah.
But, so that brought the price down. But in general, the prices are really flattening out,
yes.
When you look at month over month, year over year. So in this case, September of this year, September of last year, et cetera. I do love this slide as well because average days on market, Cheryl, have been going up. And again, if you look at Marco Island, it's 100 and I think it's 43, 46 days. The average days on market. So I list it now, and that's roughly 4 months, right? when I started in this business, Cheryl, you could have a baby in the time it took to sell a house. So
That's
it
a
was
long time.
9 months. So the fact that it's 4 months, okay, it is a huge increase. Summer is always a tough time. And,
Right.
Marco Island, I'm talking specifically about it because the numbers shot up so much. But if you look at the rest of them, yes, they have shot up from one of 2022. And they have been going up gradually. But, days on market, when we look at this in a minute, you're going to see that that's not always bad.
Right.
If we look at months of inventory, and that really, the number of months is, we'll talk about it. I'm just going to go jump to the next screen and then come back. If I'm 4 months or less, I'm in a seller market. If I'm in a neutral market, I'm 4 to 7 months. And beyond that, I'm in a buyer's market. So let's go back and look at this slide that was just up, which is Marco Island is in about 7-ish month of inventory. And we've got a little bit over 8 months in Fort Myers. Again, you'll see that they kind of dipped down in 21 to hit their lowest, and then they've come up gradually. So very normal. But as we think about that, overall, we're at about 6.55 months. And for me, that's a healthy market. That means that as a buyer, I can breathe. I can take the time I need to take the time because I'm not rushed into it.
Right.
And, as a seller, I'm maybe not getting crazy terms, but I also may get my contracts to stick.
Right. Right. I think this really gets us back to what we were talking before, which is a normal market. There's an advantage to all parties here.
Yeah.
The seller gets a contract. They get close to their price. The buyer has some negotiating power because of the days on market, and maybe they can negotiate on closing costs. I mean, it's a win for everybody right now.
It is a win for everybody right now.
Yeah.
So, we leave you with, are you interested in getting an equity update? Here's how much I've invested into this property, at least in a mortgage. And then here's how much we could get it. And here's what would I do with this money? Some people are looking to downsize, go from a single family home to a condo. Cheryl and I are both empty nesters, and my kids aren't far away, and your kids are far away, but they never come here.
Right.
You have to go to them.
So who needs the space?
So who needs the space? So if you find yourself that, hey, let me figure out what's going on and get a valuation of my home, get an equity update, we'd love to do that. Again, if you have some very specific questions, you can reach either one of us. Our numbers are below. But we look forward to seeing you next month here on the Monthly Market Update with my friend
Cheryl Stokes, New American Funding.
and Mary Bartos, the Bartos Group of Premier Plus Realty.